Hi, welcome to another episode of Determining the Mindset. And I'm Dr. Cindy Zhang. And today I invited Tina Conroy. She's a Reiki Master, and she helps empower women to be passionate and tap into their intuition. So we are here to teach women to take action steps to fulfill their dreams, and that we empower women to be dreamers who take action. So Tina, welcome to our episode of Determining the Mindset.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to having this conversation.
Yeah. And I would love for you to just talk a little bit about yourself and what you do, so the listeners know a little bit more about you.
Sure. Well, thank you for that opportunity. My biggest passion is working with women and tapping into that inner voice, that inner knowing that all women have, and men, but I work with women. That intuition is a very strong sense. And I always say that it's not the sixth sense, it's the first sense. And when we can tap into that, we have a very rich life. We can have a lot of clarity in our life. We can fulfill those passions. We can listen to those aha moments. And whatever we choose, whatever path, whatever journey, it's a very purposeful life. And I do that many different ways by working with women.
That's great. Yeah. So, besides that, what is your mission and dream in life? Because even though you're passionate about this, where do you want this to lead you into?
I think for others is for them to know that exactly what I said, to know that that is part of something who they are. I think a lot of people believe it's something outside of themselves, or it's for special people, or it's for psychics. So my mission, and for me, is to spread the word actually kind of worldwide. And I do that by holding different retreats. I do yoga and healing retreats, as well as intuitive retreats, which we really dig into our intuition and we work with those abilities and make them fun and playful, and learn to experiment a little bit with our psychic abilities and with our intuition.
Mm-hmm. That's so interesting, because how we are like the master of our body, right, as a physical therapist, but also the mind plays such a big role in what we do daily. And you talking about meditation and tapping into our intuition is something that probably all the practitioners should know a little bit about.
So talking about meditation that you're just bringing up, mm-hmm. Meditation is one of the ways, and a lot of people get spooked with that word. You know, it's like, oh, meditation, and I have to sit still for 2 times 20 minutes a day, or how I can't sit still, or I can't turn my mind off. And what I say to that is, number one, it's any place or any time that you can get quiet. So when we can get quiet, we allow that space for us to connect again to that inner voice and that quietness. However, this whole idea of meditation for people, that we're going to turn off the brain and it's going to be completely quiet, well, I have to tell you that's not going to happen. So, which is a good thing, because a lot of people, as I teach meditation and I guide meditation, I explain to them, we're not going to turn the brain off. The brain is made to think, and the brain is made to have thoughts. So what I like to think of it as in regards to meditation is just giving yourself some quiet time, at least to start with that. And there's many different ways to do that. One of the ways that I always start with, and I teach this from the very beginning of my classes, is to start with 5 minutes a day. It's something simple and it's something easy to do. Everybody has a smartphone. Put the timer on 5 minutes. I actually have you sit in a chair or sit in a couch, but not cross-legged in lotus or anything. Close your eyes and breathe in and breathe out for 5 minutes. And when it's done, you're done. But do that every day. So when we do something every day, we create a habit. I know you know this so well. And when we create a habit, we create these new neural pathways in the brain. And with the neural pathways in the brain, we get used to it and we get used to it. And then down the road, if we want to add more minutes, that's fine. But just to allow ourselves to do that for 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. Now, some people will find that sitting meditation might be difficult. So you can do a walking meditation. You can do a candle gazing meditation. You can do many different kinds, visualization. You can listen to so many now, but it is just to get quiet in the sense of allowing yourself to be still, not necessarily quiet with the brain, but just be still and do that every day. That's the most important thing. That's a prescription.
Mm-hmm. So do you have any like past experience or stories to share that where like women or just anybody in general after your session of like either meditation or other ways that you helped tap into their intuition, what did they like, how did they change their life? And then, so tell me some stories.
Well, majority of women that I work with in my mentorship program is my mentorship. I have 2 different mentorship programs. I have a 30-day to healing mentorship program, which is literally 30 days. And then I have my kind of deep dive, which is my 90-day mentorship program. And both of those incorporate meditation, daily ritual, and if they're in person, it would be hands-on healing, Reiki healing. Once they commit to just stepping up for themselves and just showing up to do the work and they stay with it consistently, they see a big improvement. However, the meditation themselves, I always start, I would say, beginners with a body scan. So I take them through a mindfulness body scan. And even in those 7 minutes, after those 7 minutes, they can feel the difference from the shift. They notice the shift. They notice their body's relaxing. Sometimes they fall asleep because they're so tired and they're working so hard. Mm-hmm. And I always say to them that in those 7 or 8 minutes, their cortisol was lowered, their heartbeat was just regularly, lowered. They did such a good thing for their body. I mean, I know for you as a physical therapist and working, you know how much stress is challenging and it's taking over our entire country and world. And it's really creating so much dis-ease in the body. So it's so important to inhabit and bring these good habits in.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. And definitely doing meditation every day, I'm sure it will clear our mind and de-stress. So what, like you talked about Reiki. Can you tell us a little bit more for those of us that are not in the medical field? It may be a hard concept to grasp.
Sure. So it's called Reiki. So Rei like the sun and Ki, K-I. Mm-hmm. And it's spelled R-E-I-K-I. And it is, it's designed, well, I'll go back with some history. So it is from Japan. It's a Japanese modality. It's a Japanese energy modality. And it was founded back beyond 1920, probably even before that, but most of our writings is for Dr. Asui and Hayashi and Mrs. Takada, and they were our Reiki masters, and they were able to hand down the lineage. Reiki, if you can, I'm gonna go back and forth because a lot of people know now about acupuncture, right? Mm-hmm. So acupuncture is Chinese and we are full of energy. So in acupuncture, we have qi, and the qi is moving through the body. Mm-hmm. In Reiki, it's the Ki, K-I. And it's all the same because energy is energy. If we go back to even the Buddhists, or we go back to Sanskrit, it's prana for Sanskrit. Mm-hmm. It's mana for Hawaiian, and it may be Holy Spirit for Catholicism, but it is energy through the body. Mm-hmm. Reiki is a hands-on modality, and the actual treatment is about an hour or so, one-on-one. And the person lies on a massage table, fully clothed. You're fully clothed, usually on your back, so facing up, relaxing. And it feels similar, or the room atmosphere feels similar to a massage. It's, mm-hmm. Gentle light, maybe the crystals are on, gentle music. And then it's just hand placement. It's placing hand. It is not manipulating of the tissue. It is placing gently on or hovering.
Mm-hmm.
And so what Reiki is that as the Reiki Master Teacher, which is what I am,
Mm-hmm.
we're channeled energy from above. So it's Reiki Universal Life Force Energy, which is universe light. And then it's through my hands into the recipient, using their energy to help and heal them.
Mm-hmm.
So what I always like to think of is if you had a barrel of water outside and it stayed there day after day in a hot sun, it would get like yucky. And if you put fresh water in, it would move through.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you think of it like a garden hose that was kinked and then it opens, our body holds all this energy and it gets blocked. And it gets blocked from many things. It gets blocked from our day-to-day, it gets blocked from our past, it gets blocked from being hurt emotionally or physically, having a physical. So when you receive a Reiki treatment, it flows the energy through the body, and then you're able to feel more balanced and able to feel more freeing. Most people don't really know what it is, and I always say just try it. And the number one benefit is relaxation, calmness, and overall peace.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's good. Yeah, so I totally recommend like whoever's watching this to just try it out, and definitely it's gonna change, give your life a little bit more calm and de-stress. And Tina is the expert, so please contact her and find her. So also, Tina, I noticed that you also work with crystals. Can you teach us a little bit about crystals?
I love this topic. I just did a crystal healing workshop this past weekend, and I spoke about the chakras, but crystals in general. So some people believe crystals are crystal beings. And the reason for that, there are earth keepers. They come directly from the earth. They are not tainted or changed. And as we're finding, there's about 50,000 specimens of crystals and stones. They have the vibration of the earth. They have what I'm speaking about, this universal life force energy. They have energy. It's a palpable energy. And each crystal and each stone, based on their property, can be helpful in many different ways. So I'll give you an idea. One of a very simple stone, but a very common stone, is rose quartz crystal. And rose quartz crystal is light pink. Many people have seen it. It's inexpensive. Rose quartz crystal can be worn adorned on the throat or the chest area, as a bracelet, or even as a crystal next to your bedside. It can also be a touchstone. And I want to kind of talk about that. I was teaching that on Sunday. A touchstone is a stone that you would hold in your hand when you need those benefits. So say rose quartz. Well, that's going to help you with self-love and self-beauty and confidence and courage. Mm-hmm. So if you're going through something very difficult in your life, or perhaps you're in a depressed state, you want to be able to hold rose quartz. So you hold it. It's like a touchstone. You don't have to hold it all the time. You can hold it when you're feeling fearful and you need some courage, or you could keep it in your pocket, or ladies, you can keep it in your pocketbook, or of course your car. But our touchstone can change. Sometimes we go through different things in our life and we need more courage. I'll share with you today, I have a piece of Larimar. It's a beautiful piece. And Larimar is to release fear. It's from Costa Rica. It's a stone from Costa Rica. And it releases fear and it brings in psychic protection. And I was feeling that way the last couple of days. So I was holding my Larimar as I was at the computer, and I just kind of held the Larimar. It was small enough to be in my hand. And that was my touchstone for the day. So you can use crystals and stones in many ways. There's many different varieties. And you can use them as touchstones. You can place them as jewelry on your body. You can also incorporate them in a Reiki session. Your Reiki practitioner may want to lay stones on you. It's called the laying on of stones. Mm-hmm. They do a grid on you. They're tiny stones. And you're not only getting the benefit of the Reiki healing, you're also getting the benefit of the crystal healing.
Oh, wow. That's great. So for people like clients that we see all the time, they probably are depressed, right? Where would they be able to purchase this kind of crystal?
Well, in this day and age, you can go to Amazon, I have to say. So most, I would say, metaphysical stores, if they're in a town that's, or in a place that has metaphysical bookstores and maybe incense and things like that, they may have crystals and stones, and rose quartz is very common. Of course, on the internet, the only thing I always suggest is that wherever you buy your stones, if you're buying them from a mom and pop store or on the internet, you want to clear your stones, and you want to also program them and charge them. So you want to clear them because as you get them, you don't know where they've been, and you just want to do a clearing process with them. But honestly, many people have gotten beautiful stones and crystals throughout, in the internet.
Okay, that's good. Good to know. So I know you also do yoga. So do you incorporate like meditation and your teaching with the yoga practice that you currently have?
I do. So I teach currently 11 classes a week. It varies. And I teach all different styles. So I'll teach what would be called a vinyasa class, which is more of a flow yoga class. I may teach a restorative class, which is very gentle, and you don't even stand. You kind of hang out on bolsters and chill out. And then I teach more of an alignment class. I always begin with some type of meditation, or what I would call centering, in the actual class, because I don't have all that much time, but I'll end with just connecting to yourself. I started teaching in 2004 to children, and that was my first step in. I felt that young children really needed this, and they were so stressed out even at a young age. And then I incorporated to teens, and then I started teaching adults. And now I teach teens and adults. I don't teach too many children anymore, just because my life has evolved. But yoga's for everybody. I say it's from 9 to 90 and beyond. So you can do yoga. The biggest thing I get is, I can't do it, I'm not flexible. And I say, that's why you come. So there's many reputable yoga teachers, and yoga is everywhere. I'm sure you see that as well. And just find a reputable place, a reputable teacher. If you have an injury, it's very important to, and I'm sure you see this a lot, speak to the yoga teacher and explain the injury you have. It is important for them to know, and there may be a particular pose that you can't do at the moment, or modify. There's always something we can modify. There's always something we can do.
Is there a saying that you're doing too much yoga? Because sometimes I notice maybe people, they have a question about it. Like if they're doing too much and they get too flexible, will they like, is it a pro and a con to it if they do too much yoga?
No,
Okay.
actually not. So yoga is meant to do every day. It is meant to be practiced. It's not an exercise program. It's a practice, and it's meant to be practiced every day. Now that doesn't mean 3 hours a day, but that means doing something every day or 6 days a week. And it is fine to do that every day. Now, there are certain types of yoga that you want to be a little careful with depending on your health. There are the yoga in the 102 degrees. I wouldn't recommend that every day. So you have to really know your body and know your limitations and know what's best for you. But you can practice yoga every day, and you can do something. So I work towards practicing yoga every day. And now that's the asana of yoga. There's the physical yoga, and then there's the spiritual part of yoga. And it may just be a few poses for myself, or it may be a full 90-minute class. So the thing is, there is not too much. Obviously, if you're doing too much, or you're not feeling good, or you're pushing your body, that's a different thing. So if you're pushing it to an extent of pain or injury, then you need to back off. I always say that yoga in a stretch, as we move through the body, we're working with flexibility and strength. So some people come in with more flexibility and less strength, and some people come in with more strength and less flexibility. As an example, a runner, someone who's an avid runner, they're in great shape and they're very strong, but they probably don't have a lot of flexibility. And the reason for that is they run and their muscles are going kind of up and down, and now we're asking them to kind of go the other way. So I'll see runners, and I know right away, I'm like, are you a runner? They're very tight. They might be kind of hunched over. Their hamstrings are very tight. And now all of a sudden we're asking them to open their hips and to roll their shoulder blades back and sit nice and tall. But yoga can help any sport, and help really anybody if you're open and willing to try it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love yoga. I try to do yoga myself at least 2 or 3 times a week. And definitely it's helping me a lot to just having that meditation aspect also. It's very good. I think it's good for everybody in general.
Do you do your home practice, or do you go somewhere to practice?
I have, right now I have my own practice that it's kind of like I go to different people's house and I'm trying to set it up in an office setting. So it's still kind of in between. It's some people I go to their house and some people they come to my office. So so definitely I try to incorporate yoga into some of the teachings that I do. Yeah. So and you also have a podcast, Tina. You're a woman with all sorts of talents.
Thank you. I wear many hats, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
My podcast is the Intuitive Women Podcast, and I have solo shows and I have guests. And my solo shows are mostly meditations, different meditations. They could be short, from 10 to 11 minutes long. There also could be solo shows where I do an audio yoga practice. Matter of fact, a couple of months ago, my community was asking me for a yoga practice. So I recorded a practice on the go for vacation. It was the summer and people wanted to take it with them. So I recorded a yoga practice, and a lot of people listen to that and download that. I do say that you do have to know a bit about yoga to do it. It wasn't a hard practice, but if you've never done yoga, you may not know some of the terms. Mm-hmm. So my solo shows are a yoga practice or meditation, or maybe a topic. I might be talking about crystals or a particular topic. And then I have interviews. I interview women that are in many different realms and backgrounds. I've interviewed authors. I've interviewed mediums. I just interviewed someone who was working with women in their closet and helping them feel good with their clothing and feeling empowered in their clothing, things like that.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You've been doing it for a long time, right?
I have. I've been on the radio. I've had a podcast or a radio for almost 4 years.
Uh-huh.
I had 2 radio shows prior to this, and I now have the podcast. So I had a different blog talk radio. I had that for 3 years, and now I have this podcast. So it's sort of, we just change as we go, and I rechange my name. I also have a very active Facebook group, a free Facebook group. And it's the Intuitive Women Facebook group. It's invite only, and it is mostly women. We do have some men. And I do a lot of things in that Facebook group. We have challenges. On Friday, I pick intuitive cards, and I do live readings on Friday, live at 5. That's a pretty popular thing. So yeah, check out my Facebook group. It's a fun place to meet people and like-minded spiritual people as well.
Yeah, definitely. So how, since you're like a woman that basically speaks to a lot of women and trying to inspire women, are there any advice that you can give to people that, women that they are still in their shells and they don't want, it's difficult for them to overcome difficulties in their life? Are there some action steps that you can give them?
The real action step that I find is very helpful is to start with daily routine. And I found this when I started doing this and on a regular basis, and I made it non-negotiable with myself. That's when I really felt that things were shifting and changing. So I say, if this is something important to you, you put yourself first and you wake up an hour earlier. I know everybody's going, no, wake up an hour earlier. And these are my 3 steps. My 3 steps are to get up an hour earlier and to journal and to sit for 5 minutes. That's it, those 3 things. And do that every day. I find in the morning, if we set our intention in the morning, so many things are possible. The thing about the journaling, if I can share with you, is 3 prompts that have worked for me. So I used to journal for many years, and they turned out to be just complaining journals, all that. Now I do prompts, 3 prompts, and it's worked. So every morning I open up my journal, and the first prompt is a brain dump. I kind of just do a little bit of like getting things out of my brain. I don't go down the rabbit hole. If it goes too much, I kind of stop, but I just kind of get the things out of my head. Then I go into gratitude. I write things that I'm grateful for, and I do that for a page or so. There's no time limit. And then the last thing, which is important, is the dream phase, or I call it dreaming or manifestation. I write all the things in present tense. I am happy and healthy. I serve many women. I travel around the world and create amazing retreats. So whatever that is, and you do that every day. So you go from your brain dump to your gratitude to your manifestation. And then you sit for 5 minutes. You just sit, put that 5 minute on that smartphone, and after 5 minutes, get up. And if you do that every day and you commit to yourself and you show up, that's what's really important. As women, we give so much to everyone else and we give nothing to ourselves. So it's that, I know you've probably heard this, you can't drink from an empty cup. So fill your cup first, and then you can give and give so much to other people.
Thank you so much for that advice, because definitely like the 3 prompts is so important. It's kind of something that I've learned in church, actually. They always say that you want to pray with gratitude first, and then kind of tell God what you want to pray for that day. And I'm a Christian myself, so thank you so much for that advice, and definitely is good for those that are listening.
Gratitude is always key.
Yeah. So Tina, can you tell people where to find you in social media or your website?
Sure, absolutely. So on Facebook, you can find me in the Intuitive Women Facebook group. And again, invite only. I would love to have you there. Also, my page is the Intuitive Women. And on Instagram, it's tcon17, I believe. Yes. I'm on Twitter, but not too much. So I really hang out on Facebook, and I really hang out on Instagram. My website is tinaconroy.com, and my podcast, the Intuitive Women Podcast. I'm on Stitcher, Google Play, Apple Podcast, and iHeartRadio. So I'm in a lot of the platforms.
Okay. Thank you so much, Tina, for joining us today. And we'll be looking out for your website and looking for you for more advice. Please look for Tina Conroy. And this episode is Determining the Mindset. And I'm Dr. Cindy Zhang. Thank you.
Thank you.